I told my daughter to be afraid of her father. I didn't use those exact words. I said things like, if the judge asks, just say daddy yells a lot. Or remember how you don't like it when he raises his voice? And, you can tell them you feel safer with mommy. I called it preparing her and making sure she uses her words. But I knew what I was doing. I was loading dice and teaching a 6-year-old how to roll them. If you've never been through family court, here's what no one tells you. Every little thing becomes a piece of evidence. Every text looks like a confession when you read it out of order. And every fight you think you've won at home gets turned into a diagram about the best interests of a child. Before the divorce, we were normal bad. We had money stress, chore scorekeeping, resentment that fermented into sarcasm. Marcus works with heavy equipment and a small crew. When he's home, he's either bone-tired or wired on fix-it energy. I'm in marketing. I can talk most problems into feeling solved. He hates that. He calls it spinning. He says, just say the thing plain. Saying the thing plain would have sounded like, I cheated once with a coworker after a conference dinner, and then hated myself so much I started hating Marcus to make it less about me. Saying the thing plain would also have sounded like, I'm scared you'll leave if I admit I broke the marriage, so I poke your pride to see if you'll break it first. Instead I said, we're not working. He said, we can work. We've got a kid. I said, I want out. He said, then we'll do this fair. What is fair in a split? Our daughter Lila is 6. She loves horses and those glitter pens that always dry out. Marcus's parents left him 15 minutes outside town. A busted farmhouse on 20 acres, and an old pole barn you can barely look at without getting tetanus. He's been fixing it on weekends for years. It's ugly pretty in the way a bruise is colorful. He wanted week on/week off. I wanted primary with every other weekend. I told myself it was because I was the default parent. I told myself it was because my apartment was closer to her school. I did not tell myself it was because I wanted him to feel the emptiness I felt every time I looked at my choices. My lawyer said courts in our county favor stability, and that judges here read the friendly parent factor like it's scripture. Who supports the child's relationship with the other parent. She said, present yourself as the parent of continuity. I heard that like a dare. The first hearing was scheduling and temporary orders. Marcus showed up in clean boots and a button-down I got him for our 4th anniversary. I wore a navy dress that made me look competent and not cold. The judge, a woman who looked like she'd seen all flavors of heartbreak and cataloged them by groove in her forehead, ordered a temporary 2-2-3 schedule. That's 2 days with me, 2 with him, alternating long weekends. She told us to enroll in the co-parenting class, and to communicate through our family wizard so our messages could be exported if needed. She said best interests of the child like an invocation. I started coaching Lila 2 weeks later, when the first exchange at his place went weird and she wouldn't get out of my car. She said, I don't like the smell, and I could have just said, it smells like sawdust and old hay, Daddy's fixing it up. Instead I said, you can tell your counselor that Daddy's house makes you uncomfortable. She said, but I like the kittens in the barn, and I said, tell her you like the kittens but you don't feel safe. It felt like guidance. It was an instruction. Every Thursday we saw MS. Hannah, the custody counselor from the court list. Hannah is the kind of woman who moves slow on purpose so kids speed up to fill the space. She asked Lila to draw a house at Mommy's and a house at Daddy's. Lila drew both with purple windows, a trampoline at Marcus's, a plant on my windowsill. Hannah asked, where do you feel happy? Lila said, both. My chest burned. Later, in the car I said, if the judge asks about yelling, try to remember that time Daddy shouted when his hand got cut. Lila said, he said a bad word then. I said, that's yelling. The judge needs to know. Marcus didn't play. He took the class. He messaged me through the app like it was the only language he spoke. Lila said her sneakers are tight. Please send the red pair. School says field trip Friday. Signed permission? I can cover the fee. He never replied to my bait when I wrote. Interesting that you're suddenly Mr. Involved. He wrote. Please keep communication to Lila's needs. Thanks. He screenshotted everything and behaved like he expected an audit. I found a lawyer friend of a friend who said phrases like parental alienation and badmouthing and consequence. She warned me that false claims could blow up in my face. I told her I wasn't making anything up. I was contextualizing. She said, "Judges hate that word." I said, "I know what I'm doing with my kid," which is something I've only ever said when I'm doing the opposite. The Guardian ad litem GL interview happened on a Tuesday. The GL, a man in his 50s with sad eyes and neat notes, met me at my apartment first. He asked about pickups, drop-offs, mealtimes, homework, Lila's friends, Lila's routines. He asked if I had concerns about Marcus's parenting. I told him I was concerned about yelling, and concerned about safety at the farmhouse. He asked for examples. I told him about the time he slammed a cabinet. I told him about the time he used a circular saw without the guard when Lila was in the barn. Marcus would later show a video of Lila inside with his mom making cookies while he cut boards outside. The GL nodded, wrote, "Mother reports concerns," and asked to see Lila's room. He looked at the clean sheets and the nightlight and the art prints I'd hung and said, "Looks cozy." At Marcus's, the GL met his mom baking banana bread, and his neighbor's 12-year-old showing Lila how to feed the chickens. He saw the pile of lumber for the new fence and the safety goggles hanging on hooks at kid height. He saw the note on the fridge with the custody schedule, and a picture of Lila on a pony at the 4-H fair. He asked Marcus about yelling. Marcus said, "I'm loud when I get hurt." "I'm not loud at her." He asked about safety. Marcus said, "She wears boots in the barn and the saw has a safety. I don't cut wood with her underfoot." The GL wrote, "Father demonstrates insight. Environment being improved." Then came the thing I did that will live in my bones longer than any decree. During a Sunday exchange, Lila started crying in her car seat before we even got to the county road. She said she didn't want to go. She said, "You'll be lonely." I heard what I wanted to hear. I pulled over on the shoulder. I unbuckled enough to twist around and hold her hand and I said, "God help me. If you tell MS, Hannah you're scared at daddy's, the judge will let you stay with me more." I said it soft like a secret, like a favor. I said, "Just tell the truth the way that helps us." My phone sat in the cup holder, screen lit, camera open because I had been videoing her new Frozen song. I didn't notice it was still recording. 2 days later, Marcus filed an emergency motion for a temporary change, and attached a transcript from our family wizard with the video I didn't know existed. He had pulled it from the shared album where I'd uploaded the Frozen clip, because of course I did. Because I share cuteness like it purifies me. The clip shows my daughter crying in a gray car seat, and me saying the sentence I'd give 3 years of my life to swallow whole. The judge scheduled a hearing for Friday. My lawyer said, "We can explain. We can apologize." She did not say, "We can win." It's amazing how everyone gets very calm when you've been caught. At the hearing MS, Hannah testified that Lila's statements about feeling unsafe were inconsistent and used adult phrasing for fear. The GL testified that both homes were adequate, that the father had been consistently child-centered, and that he had serious concerns about coaching. Marcus's lawyer didn't grandstand. He just played 15 seconds of audio in which my voice is careful and my daughter's voice is small. The judge looked at me the way you look at a person you wish you didn't have to disappoint. She said, "Ma'am, the court favors the parent who supports the child's relationship with the other parent. Coaching a child to report fear is the opposite of that." She granted Marcus temporary sole decision-making and primary physical custody pending a final hearing, ordered my time to be supervised for 8 weeks to reset, and required me to enroll in a parenting class and individual therapy with someone on the court-approved list. She also ordered both of us to use our family wizard exclusively, told me to stop recording my child for leverage, and added a mutual non-disparagement clause. Then she hit me with attorney's fees. Half of Marcus's costs for the emergency motion. As a deterrent. I expected Marcus to smirk. He didn't. He looked tired and sad, and also like he'd been given permission to finally stop holding his breath. The fallout is not cinematic. It's practical and humiliating and expensive. Supervised visits happen at a center with murals of butterflies and cameras in corners. An older woman named Carol watches me color with my kid and redirects me when I ask, "Do you miss me more than Daddy?" She teaches me how not to be a bad example, like I am a teenager caught cheating on a quiz. After 8 weeks, the supervision lifts, but the schedule is different now. Alternate weekends, a midweek dinner, and video calls at set times. If I'm late, I lose them. If I editorialize, the coordinator writes it down. The final hearing happens months later. By then, Marcus's place looks like a magazine spread for rustic competence. He built a fence and a safe play area, finished the downstairs bathroom, and set up a homework corner with a little lamp and a jar of sharpened pencils. He presents receipts, calendars, and the calm patience of a man who decided not to go to war with me even when I declared one. I get joint legal decision-making restored, but physical stays primarily with him. The judge says the word stability 6 times. She reminds me this is not punishment, it's adjustment to ensure Lila isn't asked to carry adult conflict. It feels like punishment anyway. Here's the part one didn't see coming. Life kept happening for him. 6 months after the decree, the county approved Marcus's small business grant. He turned the pole barn into a workshop and small event space. Neighbors' birthdays for H fundraisers, fall markets with cider and local soaps. 3 months after that, a highway extension bought a strip of frontage from him and his closest neighbors. The check had more zeros than either of us had ever seen. He paid off everything, put a chunk in a 529, and posted a photo of the sun setting over the east pasture with the caption, "Grateful." I stared at it for a long time and hated that my first thought was, that should have been mine too. It never was. The 20 acres were his parents' inherited separate property. The event business he built after separation. His. The windfall from the road. His. The judge wasn't punishing me when she split our marital assets down the middle and left his separate stuff alone. She was following the law I hadn't bothered to learn because I thought I could argue my way out of math. He still doesn't talk to me beyond logistics. We use the app. I send doctor updates, he replies thank you. He sends school photos, I reply she looks so tall. We say good job to each other when Lila reads 3 chapters in a week or sleeps through a stomach bug. He is a good father and a terrible ex, and I earn both. We're dead to him, I said once, crying into my sister's lap after a visit where Lila left me without looking back, because Marcus promised they'd feed the baby goats. My sister said, "No. You just aren't his problem anymore." I tell the truth now. When Lila asks why we don't live together, I say, because Mommy told a lie that hurt Daddy's feelings and the judge said Daddy needed to be in charge of your school days for a while. When she says she loves the farm more than my apartment, I say, it's okay to love both. When she says she wants to live with me forever, I say, you'll live where the schedule says until you're big, and I will love you in every place. Sometimes, when I stand in the parking lot at the visit center holding her little backpack, I see Marcus's truck pull away in the distance. He sometimes stops at the gate to check the latch. Lila leans over the seat to point at the horses, and he turns to listen with his whole face. He doesn't look back at me. He doesn't wave. He doesn't owe me that. He wins if you need a scoreboard. He won by refusing to perform anger when I handed him a script. He won by gathering facts, not insults. He won by letting the judge be the judge while I tried to make my child a witness. He won by putting our daughter's routine above my need to feel chosen. He won in a way that gave our kid a stable house, a routine, and a father who doesn't need to destroy her mother to feel like a man. I don't know if I'll ever be forgiven. I do know I will never again ask my daughter to carry my war. The cost is 20 acres, the sound of laughter down a long gravel drive I don't drive anymore, and a man who treats me like a co-worker he respects but won't hang out with after. It is a fair price for the truth. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. She prepared her daughter to say the right things, and the judge heard the coaching. He didn't rage. He documented, stayed calm, and built a stable life for their kid. If your win requires a child to lie, you already lost. If you liked this video, please subscribe for more. Thanks and see y'all tomorrow.